Welcome back everyone to more career mode gameplay of NASCAR Heat 5. And in today's video, we're all about the transition. Not only is it the postseason after we just completed our first Cup season, but it's also a transition away from Hendrick Motorsports and the 48 ride and a transition into creating our own team. Now you see in the background on the screen a mock-up of what our car could look like, and I'm not sad about this. This is actually, while it's not a color scheme I would have used, I'm really enjoying the look of this car. Now I have no idea if we're going to end up with this, and in all likelihood we won't, but this doesn't look bad at all, and I am notoriously not a fan of the create your own team paint schemes and what you're allowed to do. We need a much more robust paint shop system than we have now, but that's well known, and hopefully we'll get that upcoming in a fresh start in NASCAR Heat 6. But this paint scheme is not terrible. I don't hate this, which is odd for me because I expected to immediately hate what it was throwing at me. So in today's video, we will not be doing a race for a couple of different reasons. Number one, I want to go through the postseason. I want to go through building our team. We're going to create our team. We're going to hire employees. We're going to purchase new chassis. We're going to work on those chassis, or at least begin to. So for that reason, we will not be doing Daytona because, well, it's not going to give us enough time to really get our car strong enough. Even though I believe we've got the money we need to make it happen, it's just not going to give us enough time to make it happen before we have to run Daytona. And I really am not interested in lowering the difficulty anymore in the career mode. We've already gone through that phase of the career mode. So now I want to keep at max difficulty. And so we're not going to really start running races until we've spent the money that we've saved up and we have done everything we can do to get our car as strong as we can make it. And then we'll continue increasing from there. So let's go ahead and get started with our preparation. Now, we don't want to join a team. We want to start our own. And I must say, I'm pretty excited about getting back to that. As far as the team name, I don't even remember what we've been using in the past. But the one that I'm kind of fond of is Steel Forge. So we're going to go with Steel Forge Racing. Now we need to pick a sponsor. And along with this, we'll be choosing a manufacturer. And all of these are really perfectly fine. We can go Mountain Dew, which is, of course, what you see in the background on the paint scheme, with a very nice signing bonus and the payout per race, which is decent. Certainly not the best, but it's not bad. But I think the one I'm going to go with is the Toyota sponsorship because the payout per race is very close to being the best, within a couple of $1,000s, and the signing bonus is already very nice. Now, I'm not going to get into the math because it really doesn't ultimately matter to me about the money. As long as we're close, I'm perfectly fine. So we're going to go with the Aris sponsorship with Toyota. And what do we want to spend our money on first? And this one's actually pretty simple. I'm going to go with the Speedway chassis simply because that is what we're going to get the most mileage out of. In fact, you can see at the bottom of the screen, performs best at. There is a huge list of tracks for that. Short tracks, not so much. You got, what, 4 on there? And then super speedways, of course, only 2. And then only 3 road courses. So speedway is definitely the way to go. So we'll choose that one. And we'll hire our first employee. Now, our first employee, we're going to actually have as many of each of these as we can ultimately afford. However, we're going to start with engine specialist. And there should be a couple of these. Yeah, there we go. So we've got 2 engine specialists. We'll simply go with the first one in the list for right now. And we'll click accept. So with a mere 1 employee, we have started our team. We're going to go ahead. Again, we got $15.7 million right now after purchasing our chassis. So I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, and you can see it's only going to let me go up to a +5. No idea why it will only allow me to do that. But for right now, it's only going to allow me to do that. And so next thing, let's see, are you not going to allow me to upgrade anything right now? You're going to force me. Wait, maybe I can get out. Let's go back into career mode. I want to see if I can't fool this thing because I really despise the limitations that it puts on you in the career mode. So I know we have to go back through this stupid loading screen again, but it's worth it for me to see. Okay, yeah, it's not going to let me out any way at all. I can't go to another screen. So this is immediately going to aggravate me beyond belief. All right. So welcome back to some of the frustrations that led me to join another team to begin with. So already we're into it. So again, if anyone from the design team is watching this, please get rid of this. Please allow me to spend the money that I have to upgrade the departments, to train employees without forcing me into this. I mean, for goodness sake, we're already, 5 or 6 seasons into the career mode, and I'm already being met with these restrictions that make no sense. So now I have to start work so that it will open things up and we can actually get down to the business of building our team. There we go. So now let's edit the car style. I tell you what, we're going to actually, we'll come back to that in another video and I'll show you what I've come up with. We don't have time for that right now, but I can tell you it's not going to be what we're looking at on the screen. Not a big fan of that. So we'll go ahead and continue there. And do we want to start a season? Really not, but we're going to. All right, Warren. Appreciate it. Everything is set up, or at least we think it's set up for now. All right, we're good to go. Excellent. Thankfully for us, it only took them a few seconds to figure that out. All right, so we're going to start the season. First few races, we're going to be terrible as we get things put in place. So we're going to go top 35s, I guess. Yeah, that pains me to do that, but that's pretty much where we're going to be as a team until I can get enough stuff in place. So let's get back to where we really wanted to be. Let's see, teammates. Those are not teammates. Those are your employees, but so be it. Train an employee. There we go. Now we're finally getting somewhere. Look at that. That is maxed. We're going to go to 10 because there's a huge disparity there. So we'll stop at 10 right now. And I want to, where is it at? I've already forgotten. How can we, let's see, where is it at? I know that we can hire an employee, but I've already forgotten where that's at. Oh, there it is. My goodness, looking right at it. Okay, so hire an employee. Now we want, let's not get aero, let's get a suspension specialist, because suspension is much more valuable to the performance of the car than aero, which is very odd to say in these modern times, but is the case in the game. All right, so once again, we're going to go up to 10 and not quite to 12 just yet. We'll get there. All right, so here we go. So that's all we can hire for one car. So now we really need to get back to, we want to do some upgrades for our departments. Let's see, how much are these going to pay? So 85 for 1.2 million. Let's go ahead and get this to 90. Both of those to 90, that'll be 6 million. That'll be 9 million. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So that gets us to 90. I'm not worried about the pit crew right now. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time there. All right, work plan. Now we want to add a car for 1.6. Let's go ahead and get another Speedway chassis. Again, they're the most versatile that we've got. Okay, now back over to more employees. More cars means we have to hire more employees. So next thing we're going to do there is we're going to get another engine specialist, because engine and suspension is what we're most interested in at this point in time. So let's go ahead and hire Cora. All right, Cora needs to be trained. Once again, get her up to 10 for right now. There we go. And then our final slot will not be aero, it will be suspension once again. So let's get Olivia. Where is she at? There she is. Oops, wrong one. Let's get her up to 10 as well. Okay, not too bad. We're still at 3.5 million, and we've got several things we can actually do with this, but what I'm most interested in doing is continuing to upgrade our department. So what are we going to get? All right, we can't go any higher than that. That's what I was afraid of. All right, so we're going to need 4 million to move from 90 to 95. This is where we're going to have to start really finishing races well, and that's going to get us more money. And of course, over time we'll be able to upgrade. So 16, something like 16.5 million that we had when we started the team, this is where it's gotten us. 90s across the board here, which technically we could have not done anything with Aero just yet. But overall, I'm pretty happy. We're at 90s across the board. That's not going to get us great finishes, but it will earn us some money. And over time, we're going to be exactly where we want to be. All right, let's go back to the work plan. 2.75. So the question now is 2.75 million for a third car. That's where we're going to start to pick up our Aero employees. But what it's going to do is it's going to take enough money away from us that we're going to have to wait a little longer before we can get our engine and suspension up to 95. So at this point, I think what I'm going to do is just go ahead and get this car. And we're going to choose, we're going to get short track for sure. Because that, again, is going to be what I'm most interested in. I don't care about the road courses in this game. And I don't really care to get a super speedway chassis because it's so limited in its use. So now we're down to 769,000, but we've got 3 chassis. And if we come back over to the My Teammates tab, we can hire a couple more employees, which we're now going to do. And you can see they're telling us exactly what we need to hire. So Aaron, happy to have you aboard. Let's go ahead and get you trained. Let's see, I believe it's 300,000, is that right? Yeah, 370 to get you up to a 10 out of 12. Now you can really see why I went to 10 instead of 12 out of 12 on these guys. All right, there we go. All right, so Aaron is done. Who was the other guy? Completely forgot who he was. There he is, Cameron. I'm sorry, Cameron. Very sorry. All right, so that's going to enable us to get both of those. So now we have 2 employees at each of the 3 positions. So now we are in great shape. We've got 3 total cars. Our employees are looking great. Let's go back out. Oh, we need to do our work plan. So let's go ahead and we're going to do both Speedway chassis, even though that's not necessarily going to be the best option for Daytona anyway. All right, so it looks like it put everybody in the spot they needed to be in. Yeah. Okay, excellent. I have seen times where the auto assign didn't exactly put people where they needed to be, but in this case, it looks like we're in good shape. All right, let's go ahead and accept that, get that work done. So there you have it. Our season is going to start with a chassis that is not quite the max of what we could do. All right, let's select our car for the race. Again, I'm going to paint this thing and try to do better than what I believe it looks like now. However, let's use the short track chassis because, again, I want to save these other 2 as much as possible for the next events. All right, so let's simulate the race and see what we get. Summary, 36. Again, no surprise, but look at that money. $1 million, and that is pretty awesome. So harsh driving, no savings. Yeah, like literally nothing on the screen there. I feel like that's not supposed to be that way. All right, so let's go ahead and tell him thank you very much. So $1 million for basically last place is what we got. So that is good to know. That's our baseline. We will not be looking at contract offers because we are exactly where we want to be right now. Okay, no training needs to be done, so we're simply back to the auto assign. And let's see, so we're now up to 90s across the board. Awesome. That's what we're looking for. So now, as we get prepared for what will be our first race for our brand new team, when we come back in our next video, this is shaping up to be really good. So we need to decide, where do we go from here? All right, what's the next upgrade we want to do? Is it going to be purchasing another car? Is it going to be upgrading departments? I mean, we certainly have a lot of upgrading we could do with our pit crew, that's for sure. And in fact, you can see it's not even that expensive to get a much better pit crew. However, where I want to go now is simply the upgrading the departments. I want to get off of the 90s for engine. I want to get to 95 for engine and 95 for suspension. And then I'm going to work for 100 on engine as well as suspension. The aero, I'm not terribly worried about it. I did want to get it as good as I could early on because it does help with speed, just not as much as the suspension does in my experience. So we've got everybody where they need to be. Let's go ahead and start that work. 90s across the board on 2 chassis. So very nice indeed. We are at the point where it's time to race. But again, that's going to be when we get back together next time. So that's going to conclude our off season. That flew by in a hurry. We got our team started. I'm going to work on the paint scheme for our car, see what I can come up with there. Some of you will probably think it looks worse than what we're looking at on the screen now, and that's understandable because I am not a paint guy by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm going to give it my best shot. So that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and stick around next time when we'll be doing race number 1 for our own Cup team.